guy Hutchinson has been. They say he's getting better just at practice. Dan Campbell spoke to it. All these guys are speaking to it. I mean, I'm reading a Colton Pouncey article, and he's saying Hutchinson beat Sewell in Tuesday's practice and has gone toe-to-toe with Sewell and went throughout training camp. The most notable takeaway here is that Hutchinson looks phenomenal. There's no rust, no hesitation, no restriction in place. He looks like the guy who led the league in pressures, sacks, and win rate before his injury. And I'll tell you what, man. If Hutch is anything close to what he was before his injury, we have a huge. That's something that you can't replace. I mean, last year when Hutch went down, you kind of thought they could put it in place and they can survive. That wasn't the case. When they lost Hutch, that was a major piece. When you lose a major piece to the offense, to the defense, you're kind of hoping that other pieces fit into the pie, and sometimes it just doesn't. It just doesn't work. And other players are taking more of the pie, and they're trying to get it all down pat. But sometimes it just doesn't work the way you want it to work. And Hutch, if he could be better this year, that's even better. I mean, you keep hearing every day about Hutchinson being better than he was last year. He's no hesitation. Usually when you come off an injury, anybody who's came off an injury at any point, usually you have a little bit of hesitation. Usually you have a little bit of hesitation. Now, this isn't Hutchinson's first injury that he's had where he's came back off an injury. Obviously, he had one at Michigan that was very traumatic, but this kid he defies logic. I mean, there's no hesitation in his game. Everyone that's ever played sports, or even if you've had a knee surgery or you've had any type of surgery, you're hesitant to do anything with that. Like you have a knee surgery, you're hesitant to, shovel the snow. That's some of the ways that this guy's going mano a mano with the best tackle in pro football. And it's not just Lions fans, and it's not just Lions training camp that are taking the notice. There's a lot of people that are taking notice across the NFL, because if you look across the NFL, the most bet to win player of Defensive Player of the Year is Aidan Hutchinson at 24.112 of the money, and it's not even close. Jalen Carter 11.3, at 8.5 is Nick Bosa, 8.4 is Micah Parsons, and TJ Watts at 7.5. Look, Hutch can, if he would have stayed healthy last year. Let's just put in this perspective. If he would have stayed healthy last year, he would have smashed the sack record. We would have smashed the sack record. Now he didn't stay healthy. He was leading the league in pressures. He was a man amongst boys. And there was a lot of people out there saying, well, you didn't go against the main guys, and he didn't go against the main guys. Boulder Dash. This guy is legit. He's coming back better. And when you hear Dan Campbell speak about Hutchinson right here, just figure out what he's trying to say.
Aidan Hutchinson, if he didn't have that wrap on his lower left leg, I wouldn't know that guy had a severe and gruesome leg injury last year. What do you see from him on the field?
I see a player that is very confident in his abilities. I see a player that appears to bend even better than last year. And I see a player who was hungry that's even hungrier. So it's good to have him back, and he's going to have a hell of a season for us.
When you say Aidan Hutchinson is better than a year ago, that sounds like a superhero origin story. What do you attribute that to, and what does it mean?
Well, it starts with him. I mean, this guy is all about business. Look, everybody knows how hard he tried to work to get back for the playoffs. I mean, he was grinding that whole time, and then, we fell short there. But he was still putting in the work, and while everybody else was on vacation, not that they weren't working, he was up here grinding, man, getting back with our group. Brett Fisher did a hell of a job with him, but man, he's a worker. That's all that matters, man. He works on every little thing. He doesn't get down in the dumps. He doesn't have bad days, and because of that, he continues to get better.
When you hear Dan Campbell say that, I mean, even look at the best players in sports, right? When Kobe was looking at someone to emulate his game, he emulated his game after Michael Jordan. When Michael Jordan played the Bad Boys Pistons, it made him level up. If this is a kind of thing where it's going to make Aidan Hutchinson level up to another level, like Tom Pelissero said that right just there, this is like a superhuman origin story, a superhero movie. it shouldn't be possible. But Hutchinson, he's a hard worker. He does what he needs to do. He's a hell of a player. And we're really lucky that we got him because, there's a lot of defensive ends, pro football players out there that they're not willing to put in the work. They're not willing to, sacrifice. They're not willing to make the necessary, you know, strives to get better. They're not willing to put in the work like he is. I mean, how many defensive ends across the NFL are holding out right now or, holding in? Hutchinson's not worried about that, and he's going to get paid. Rap Sheet was on the Dan Patrick show. He says, my sense is he was going to be less about Mike Parsons. Aidan Hutchinson is in talks for a new deal with the Lions. Maybe that happens, and then Micah goes. Hutch never complains. He never does anything wrong. He just goes out and he's a football player. And if there's a guy that if there's two players on the Detroit Lions that you could say match the Detroit Lions identity, it's Hutchinson and it's Sewell. And you can go St. Brown. Like, there's a lot of guys on this roster that when you think about them and you think about what they're able to do on a daily basis, what they're able to put in, the work that they're put in, you don't get many players like this, man. There's not many players like St. Brown out there that he don't get the ball and he pouts. St. Brown don't do that. Sewell, he goes out there and works, and he's a bad MFer. And then you got a guy like Hutchinson. I mean, he comes off a gruesome injury. He was trying to get back for the playoffs. Obviously, that didn't work out, but just that level of dedication to try to get himself back is very, very warranted. I think that's the most important thing about that. Like, you just don't see football players like that anymore. It's a day and age where me, and you got guys that are just team. And that's a credit to Brad Holmes. It's a credit to Dan Campbell. But most importantly, it's a credit to the players because they don't have to be like that. In a day and age where players are, have their own podcasts. I mean, St. Brown does, but he doesn't talk crap about the team or anything like that. Like, Parsons, he did a top 10 QB list and he left Dak out. Like, how does that go in the locker room? Just amazing. But, Hutchinson's come back better than ever. Obviously, being, have the most money on you for Defensive Player of the Year. They're going to get rumored that you're going to be the highest paid guy. And look, you're hoping that he comes back and there's no hesitant, there's nothing. And from the looks of it, there hasn't been any hesitance from him. And he's doing a damn good job at doing what he needs to do because it's not easy to do what Hutchinson's doing. It's just not. All right, let's move on. Obviously, if you have a comment, you can leave it in there. We'll talk